Welcome back, coaches. This is the Football Coaching Podcast. I am Daniel Chamberlain, here with Joe Daniel as always.
What's up, Coach?
Well, I want to tell you what's up, Joe, but first we're going to introduce our guest because we're going to force him to jump into our level up game here.
Hey,
Ron Mckie is rejoining the podcast.
thank y'all
Welcome back.
for having me. I know things get off the rails whenever I join, so I'm going to try to keep it focused.
Listen, we got to put the E on there for explicit, and that's it. That's the only change. Outside of that, it's not really that different. It's really not.
We'll keep the language in check.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Joe said, what's up? What's up is I tell you, Joe, I started back this week of rereading through again the Extreme Ownership books and the Dichotomy of Leadership. And there is no better book. I wish I could teach it to every single kid I have to deal with. I'm struggling as an educator right now. I know that we all are like in that downtime of being, you two guys are not because you're not in education anymore. It's like I'm done with it, man. I've done my time and I'm getting out. Got to figure out coaching without teaching but the Extreme Ownership, those books are still so great. It just really identifying how to, it's like the start of leadership. I know that's not all about leadership, but man, it sure is nice to be able to educate people that way. And what's cool is I'm seeing it come back tenfold. Like these kids that I've been talking to for the last couple of years that have been players of mine are now talking about, hey, coach, Extreme Ownership. And I'm like, thank you, dude. Thank you. So yeah, man, it's working.
I actually had that. So I guess I'll go with my level up here because it's a little bit related. I was in Chicago for it's a group called Strategic Coach. It's like a business coaching. A guy named Dan Sullivan runs it, and I've been doing it for a few years. It's really cool. I definitely have been online for the last couple of years, my first 2 years in it, and I decided to opt to go in person. And as you move through the years, obviously there's a lot of people in year one, there's less people in year two. And then as you get into year 3 and year 4, you start to get mixed in with people who have been there even longer. I was in the wrong room. I can just tell you, everybody thought my job was cool. But if they saw my tax returns, they would have started a collection. But one of the things that was recommended in there, though, there was a stopping point where, I think after lunch, where everybody just kind of shouted out books, and you've always talked about Extreme Ownership, and a couple of people talked about Extreme Ownership, and that's one that'll be it is towards the top of the list for the next ones for me.
Once they got it on Audible, and you're driving 40 minutes or whatever to practice, if I remember correctly, but my math skills are gone bad. But
30, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you can listen to like one lesson a day. And I've really learned that because I'm military, so that they do it in like 3 sections. So it's like, here's my military bang bang story. Here's a military less war story. Here's a civilian story. So I just skip the civilian stories because they almost feel made up to me. Like, no shit, this president of this company was not taking the blame. And I was like, whose fault is it, president of the company? And it's my fault. You're right. And then the company got better, right? Because it's Extreme Ownership. So like each chapter has that civilian story, and I just don't take anything from them. You might be the other way. You might be like, this guy's just talking about shooting people and his friend dying, and I just want to hear how does the president of the company want to solve problems. So, I mean, you can even cut a section out because all 3 of them are saying the same thing.
That definitely one of the first leadership books that I ever read that I really liked was Dean Smith's Carolina Way. That book was, I was like coaching, right? I mean, I'm here for coaching. And it was very, early in my coaching career. But it was also for business. And so he had a lot of former Carolina players who would talk about how they apply the things that they learned from playing basketball at Carolina to their business. And I skipped all of those after reading like a couple of them because I was like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I feel like if I picked it up now, I would just like skim through the business stories and like ignore everything else.
Yeah, you catch on. And the Dichotomy of Leadership is the exact same way. It's broke down the same way. Really great stories. It's just more of that, like, there is gray area. Okay. You don't have to live Extreme Ownership. You do in the beginning. It's like going on a diet. You got to cut all the bad habits out before we can learn about like counting calories, and you can actually have some ice cream. It's the same concept, but with leadership, or responsibility, I guess. All right, you're on the block, Ron.
All right. Well, I've got a book. It's not extreme ownership or anything, and I know y'all are going to probably be like, "This is woo woo," but this book is amazing. Accidental Genius, and the reason
That
why
might be on the list too.
I like this book is because it talks about the subconscious and how you always have the answers, but it's locked away. And what free writing does is basically, if you have a thought, so for instance, let's say I want to install an offense. What offense should I install, or something like that? You put it in the on a notepad right at the top the night before. And when you wake up and when you have time, you put 10 minutes down on the clock, you look at that question and you just write whatever comes to mind. You don't stop writing. That's the key. And if you don't know what to say, you just put like pen, 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 pen. But eventually you will answer that question that you had, because what it does is when you free write and you just keep going stream of conscious, it shuts off that inner critic. So you're able to just keep writing. You don't care about misspellings, if it makes sense or anything like that. You just keep writing. And the cool thing with this, and Joe, you may like this just because you write a lot, you can also do this for emails and for content. And anybody that's listening that wants to do anything, if you have a problem, just write it down the night before, wake up in the morning and just write. And this thing has been a game changer. So it's not leadership or anything like that, which I love extreme ownership or whatever that book was called. I've read it. Audible, that's the way, man.
Yeah.
It's just something about Jocko's voice just is amazing.
Oh, does Jocko do the
Him and Leif both narrate their own chapters, so it's
nice.
It's legit.
But I'm serious. If this is freaking amazing, so I got put on the list.
This is where the list is.
I read it once a year. That's how good it is. Just to get, because I find the older I get, if I read a book over and over again, I'm at a different point in my life. So if something is said in that book, then it may hit me again differently than it did the past year.
For sure.
I feel like I may either have heard the concept before, or because people steal things, or I may have like listened to it or read it at some point. So one of the things is I get like like I was at this strategic coach meeting and people are, I'm writing down the books that all these people are recommending, and of course they would recommend the book and I'll start to write it down, and then they start to talk about what it was. I'm like, nope, that one, not that one. But most of them I'm like, yeah, I will check that out, because in season when I'm going back and forth, and I'll be going back and forth pretty soon for off season, but in season when I'm going back and forth, I run out of books. Right. I get the 1 credit a month with Audible, and I've got some podcasts I listen to, but not that many, but I run out of books. I'm looking for more. And there's probably some that I should reread, re-listen to more. Usually if it really strikes me on Audible, I will buy the book too, so that I can highlight it and all that sort of stuff. Cause I'm more reading it actually works for me. But I've read so many books and listened to so many books that I came home and started going through Audible and like just wish listing these books. And about 3 of them, it was like in your library. And I'm like, oh, cool. Great. I listened to that.
You're
one
right.
again.
That was a great book.
It was, of course it was good. I actually, and there's probably, there's hundreds of books that I've listened to, and there's probably 5 that I listen to every year, over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get on to football, I got one more announcement, and that is our farm has grown. So we have goats and chickens, and we had a hen hatch her own 7 baby eggs. They all hatched yesterday, which is a first for us. I've never seen naturally hatched eggs. Everybody does them in incubators nowadays, right? It's like a thing. And we got 4 baby goats on the ground. So
heck yeah. Well, congrats.
Sunset Ridge Homestead, I think is what we're called.
A life.
There are babies running everywhere.
Place.
Happy spring.
Yeah,
that's right. There you go.
And a new cat. We don't have anything that births here other than bugs and stuff.
Yeah,
and even those are going away. My windshield.
There's a chicken in our neighborhood because it got loose and it got me up a ladder one time.
A chicken ran you up the ladder.
He didn't run me up the ladder. I was at the top of the ladder, and I was like coming down, and I wasn't paying attention, I guess, and I'm like coming down the ladder, and I'm like, hear this, they like purr or whatever, right? It's kind of like
They do that weird noise.
And I'm like, what is that noise? And I look down and there's a chicken. Now, if you don't expect to see a chicken looking at you, you're in the middle of the suburbs and you're just like,
tiny dinosaur.
So, yeah.
You mean to tell me you didn't get off your ladder and do your best Rocky impression?
I didn't know what to do because I didn't know where to come from. So I just kind of like got off the ladder.
That's good. At least it didn't run you like up.
Well, it was also like this is like a domesticated chicken, so it's just like at the bottom of the ladder, like it wouldn't get out of the way. So I'm like,
it wanted to be dinner.
I think my neighbor.
All right. Well,
anyway,
we'll pay the bills and talk a little bit of football. Tonight we're talking quarterback reads, and we're going to talk some system-based stuff because we know that all of your systems, you're all teaching quarterbacks to read different things: grass, people, zones, whatever. So before we do, Joe, would you like to pay the bills here, sir?
Yeah, you can check out the 40 Coach Simple Rules for football coaches that want to win more games. You just go to joedanielfootball.com/rules. Basically, I've taken a bunch of different lessons that I've learned over the years and condensed them into a little downloadable PDF that you can get. That there's something in there that you can apply for your football team that'll probably win you a game. Non-negotiables, drill, how to set up drills, how to put together drills, how the drills should work, Coach Simple philosophy and how to apply that, practice planning, game planning, every aspect, offense, defense. There's tons of stuff in there, just kind of little snippets that you can start applying to your football team right now, and that will benefit you. And it doesn't cost anything but your email address by going to joedanielfootball.com/rules.
Awesome. Also want to mention Athletic Speed and Movement. That's Dell Basquet's 46 years plus experience. Dell was the original speed coach in the NFL, the very first guy that was ever hired to do that job. Seattle Seahawks hired him. And since then, all he's done is produce 6 Hall of Famers, 25 plus all-pro NFL players. Had a couple of guys that were rookies. Running back got 2 years in a row. His first 2 years in the league was an all-pro. So these are cats that have trained. Talked with several college players that got their chance in the NFL or got their chance in college because they trained with Dell in high school, and it helped them develop and kind of get them to the peak of their potential as they were in speed and movement in football. Jump over to athleticspeedmovement.com. You can sign up for that today. Jump in there. Same thing. Enter your email. You're going to start hearing from us. Get the program, get started. It's perfect time to get it installed. Change the way your team runs and moves and be faster next season. Bills paid. Let's do it. Question 1 here. What are quarterback reads, Joe?
It's the decision-making process for the quarterback. As far as whether it's pre-snap or post-snap, that's the way I look at it, is how does he decide where to go with the football in a systematic approach rather than what he was doing or what we all did out on the playground or in flag football, your drunk adult flag football league on Sunday mornings. Whatever you're doing, where we're just out there, everybody's playing man-to-man, we're looking for the open guy. We're all just running around like crazy. If we're going into a coaching, if we're going to be doing anything, if we're going to have any purpose at all, and we want to get the ball out quickly, it is the systematic decision-making process for the quarterback, to me.
Mr. Mckie, how do you define quarterback reads? We should probably identify this as passing game reads. I haven't said that yet.
He's not reading the end man on line of scrimmage.
Yeah, we're not talking about the old zone read. We're truly talking pre and post snap reads for the passing game.
I think of reads as a combination, like Joe said, pre and post, and then also the progression. Can you, based off of what the defense looks like right now, can you eliminate a route that you don't think is going to be open and speed up your progression a little bit faster and everything like that? So that is what reads are to me.
Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I think if you look at it from the other side of the ball, everybody knows that linebacker reads are reading, whether it's offensive line or backfield or whatever, reading to figure out where the ball carrier is going to go. The quarterback is kind of doing the same thing from the opposite side. He's reading where the defense is going to go, and he has to have that mental picture in his head of where his receivers are going to go that's going to make one of them open. Because I don't think any of us have route concepts that are covered, right? In a perfect world, all of our route concepts, somebody's open.
For a touchdown.
Hey, every play.
Every play.
That's what we go back to offensive play caller system, and we talk about that. And we talked about the offensive play caller system. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. The fact that we don't call by down and distance anymore at all, unless it's a turnover situation or a condensed field situation. So red zone, goal line, or third or fourth down, depending on when you're going to punt. But otherwise, you should be calling because all of your plays are not designed to get 3 yards. So why are you calling a play that, I want to stay on schedule? Your play's not designed to get 4 yards. Your play's designed to get to get 8 if you don't block the safety. And if you block the safety, it's designed to go. Like I'm talking a run play. And on a pass play, it's designed, hey, if everybody's over top, like, let's say a curl route, it's designed to get 10 yards, even if the corner drives on it perfect and makes the tackle as soon as the ball gets there. So why would I call something else when these plays are designed to get, on a first down, when these plays are designed to get 8, 10, 12, 15 yards or more? I mean, they're designed to go because you also expect the receiver to block at some point. So you run out of numbers at some point, but that's neither here nor there. So with our passing game, it's like somebody's going to be open. It's like just call based on what's going to be the easiest one.
Yeah, I think reads there's so many things a quarterback has to do pre-snap, and then Ron mentioned the progression post-snap. I think anymore we want to know kind of what coverage we're looking for, right? And we're going to get into pre-snap here in a minute. But now we've added RPOs to the mix. Now we added, okay, the ball snap. Did those things happen that I expected? Am I having to change gears here? Some people are reading grass. Some people are reading players. They're going to go out and read I guess the really bad ones are reading their receiver, like making sure he's making the cuts he's supposed to. But so I think we'll get into all those as we get through the pre-snap and post-snap sections here. But the progression is a big one too, Ron. I'm glad you brought that one up.
But there's another thing, because you mentioned the RPOs and option football. But the thing with reads is, and we started off with the joke that this is not zone read, but that is what we're doing. It is option football. Even if you're not talking about, run and shoot option routes, we're talking about it's option football. If in a curl, a simple curl flat route, it's like, look at if the overhang player sits, I'm going to throw the flat. If he jumps the flat, I'm going to throw the curl. That's an option. That's the exact same concept as an RPO, just instead of a run and a pass, it's I can throw this pass or this pass. We break down play calling by pre-snap, post-snap, or we break it down by predictive, pre-snap, and post-snap. Predictive is based on what they did before. Pre-snap is based on what it looks like before the ball is snapped. Post-snap is the picture as it looks once the play starts. And every pass is a post-snap play call. You're looking at, a straight-up hitch where the corner's 10 yards off. Okay, that's a pre-snap read. But I'm using my reads to make the defense wrong, no matter what I'm trying to do. And the post-snap play call, and I also talk about this with zone game, is inside zone is in the same family as option. The difference is one guy making the option. If you sit here, I'm going to cram it front side. If you overplay it, I'm going to go backside. I have an option as the play. I'm making that decision as the play develops. And it's the same, we can just take that and expand it a different way. Like, instead of running A gap because it's A gap, we're going to run an A gap unless A gap is closed and backside B gap's open. I'm not going to call. This is a frustrating thing about coaching, right? Is we understand all of this, and we get receivers who are upset because they're not getting the ball, or their parents are upset because they're not getting the ball. It's like, buddy, I didn't make the system. I did make the system actually, but I didn't make their system, and their system is telling us what to do. Right? It's not my fault that they're leaving the second best guy uncovered and he ain't bad. They're putting 3 guys over top of you. I'm sorry, you're not getting the ball. We're just going to throw the open guy. That's the system does, and you see this in the NFL. You see with people. Fantasy football is the worst, right?
Yes.
Fantasy football owners, of which I am one, are like, God, why won't they throw to such and such? And it's like, I promise you something. Okay, not every NFL quarterback, but if Aaron Rodgers has not thrown to your guy, He's not mad at him. He hasn't forgotten about him.
Right.
They're not calling plays to prevent him from getting the ball. The defense is taking that away, and he's taking what they're giving him.
Yeah.
We'll jump into the second part here, and that's just pre-snap reads, and I think the RPO kind of has opened up that gift. You look at, I really love the way that Brent Dearmon teaches the gift route. Right, he's going to be reading one side pre-snap, the other side post-snap. He's got a way to switch it if they do certain things. Like his system's pretty fun to just kind of delve into, especially if you're new to RPOs, because it opens up that complexity for you. But we are always kind of looking, and it works back into quick game. Like, can I go somewhere with the ball right now? And it's either going to be I overthrow it or the kid drops it or it's a completion. There's no way the defense messes this up, right? And so it's that kind of that gift concept. And so I think those should be pretty well taught to your quarterback if you want to have a successful quarterback, because he needs to be able to throw those confidence boosting, gaining some yards, moving the football. I know that Ron's with us and he's going to be talking about air raid, and from what I know about air raid, it's a lot of full field schemes, right? I mean, everybody has a job and it's not mirrored, where Joe's all about the mirrored routes, and those two are going to read different things. But I think pre-snap, we're all probably looking for that, right? Can I do something with it right this second?
Brent Dearmon, by the way, guest on season 3, episode 13. Talking
there you go.
And
I'm trying to get him back on, Coach Dearmon. You're listening. We'd love to have you back.
He's got a busy schedule now.
Yeah, he head coaching in the Northern Alabama, I believe. He's pretty cooked. But and then the other thing, I think the one that I think about pre-snap read, and I won't grab the quick game stuff too much because I know Joe want to talk about that. But that's just kind of the 1 high, 2 high, and we're seeing a lot of that 2 high shell now down here. I don't know if y'all are still seeing that, but a lot of guys are rolling to 3 or going 2 high and playing quarters. A little bit of cover 1, but it's kind of that late roll over the top cover 1 stuff. So, and I think that's a way they're trying to handle motion, because you're not going to dictate who my 1 high guy is and then have me running another dude all the way across the field. But it just seems to be a lot of that down here. But we can still read that middle of field open, middle field closed. And then, Joe, you talked about it, the predictive, like, okay, they've always shown 2 high, but are they a cover 3 team? So are they lying to me about, what's really going on in the middle of the field? So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the 2 things I think about in pre-snap reads. Ron, what are kind of things you would add into that?
I've taught the safeties, 2 on the roof, 1 on the roof as well. But some of my best teams understood the passing game because it was so simple, but we repped it so much that if they were left uncovered, it was kind of the run and shoot type principles. Hey, there's no one within 7 yards of me. I know I'm supposed to run a drag, but if I run 3 steps and just turn around, I will be wide open. And if you can develop that trust with not only your quarterback, but with the wide receivers and kind of give them a little bit of control, I have had some good results with that, where they just give a look and then they're like, okay, we know what to do. You've got to confine, like, hey, you can't say, hey, I got to run a drag, but middle of the field's wide open. So screw all that. I'm running that deep post route. But if you confine it to a certain things of if then pre-snap, and you give ownership to your wide receivers, I also found that helps them, or it combats the, like you were saying, Joe, I didn't get the ball this game, and why aren't I getting the ball? It's like, well, I'm giving you some rules, so if you do have that and it's pre-snap and you see that, this is another way that you can get the ball and not come to the sideline and pout, or I won't have to talk to a parent after the game or after practice or something like that. But I'm always telling my guys, is there grass? Meaning, is there uncovered, or is there a place that we can throw the ball that doesn't have a defender? If it is, then get it there as fast as possible, because we want to get the ball to these guys because they can do some good things when the ball's in their hands.
Yep. Perfect. And Joe, we left all the softballs for you here, man.
That's fine. No, I just look, I think that pre-snap is so underrated in the grand scheme of things. It's wildly underrated. Everybody loves their quarterback reads, and whatever they are, we have our trigger reads and all this stuff, and triggers you to stay front side. 90% of the time you're staying front side anyway on our mirror concepts. And then you go and you read, we have a progression for reading inside breaking routes, read inside to outside, outside breaking routes, read outside to inside, vertical stretches, read, high to low, whatever, all that sort of stuff. It's all laid out. It takes a lot of time. We put a lot of thought into it. Some of the best quarterbacks that I've had go out there and they look at the coverage and kind of, Ron said the word space. They're taught the concepts of one high safety, two high safeties, and we can sit there and talk all day about these are man beaters and cover zero beaters, and these are cover one and cover three beaters, and these are cover two beaters, and these are quarters beaters, and blah 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 blah. But it's like quarters is a great example. It's a zone coverage and cover one. It's like nobody says hitch is a quarters beater, right? But if you play 8 yards off with your corner, hitch is a quarters beater, right? Because there's just space. So is look. So is bubble at that point. So some of the most successful quarterbacks that I've had, their post snap reading wasn't anything out of this world. Most of their throws were decided pre-snap. They would be disciplined enough to use their eyes to not give that away as soon as the ball was snapped. But most of their decision making was pre-snap, and then all that they were doing post-snap was confirming. Like I go back to curl flat's really easy because that's kind of the base concept for us. But I look out there and I go, there's no chance, we've got our best player, our Z receiver, our best athlete in the slot in a trick formation or a tilt formation for us, a twins, the Z and the X on the same side. Then we've got our H split out, the tight end. Nobody thinks the H and the tight end are going to be the read side. They're not. So I got my Z and my X on one side, and I'm looking at the alignment, and I'm going, there is no way that they're going to play our best receiver in the flat. There's just too much space out there. And so when the ball is snapped, 1, 2, 3, and he turns and he throws to the flat because our best athlete has 8 yards of space. And I've had more kids have success. We call deep out, and the kid looks and the corner is playing 2 yards inside, even though we only use an 8-yard split on deep out. Like there's so much room to the outside of the field. And catch 1, 2, 3, throw before he breaks, catch the ball out there because there's nobody outside of the hash.
Yeah.
And we're going there. So he can lay it like it scares the crap out of you, but it gets there. There's the obvious pre-snap reads of the corner playing off and giving you a lot of space. There's a lot of leverage reads. If I'm going to the flat and the guy's trying to play directly over top of me, I'm probably going to make it, especially if he has a run responsibility. Especially if I tag a flash fake or something on there. Then there's also pre-snap reads that are matchups, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I watched your linebacker just walk out there. I've watched one high teams not recognize our tight end or our H-back was going to run a seam route. And we never throw the seams on hitch seam. Never. Not because we don't want to, because it's the same concept as fade. We just tagging up, right? For fade, we just tagging up. Most of the time when we call hitch, it's because we expect you to be playing, your corners are playing too far off. Most of the time we call fade, it's because your corners are playing up. So we've got that idea. Now you may change it and we may have to check it and whatever, but half the times that the seam has been thrown in our offense, it's because we look out there and there's nobody over top one of the guys. So we're going to throw the seam. That's that. Like those, and we laugh and everything, but these are high school kids. What do we talk about with Lynn Shackelford? Going back to Lynn Shackelford. Lynn Shackelford went back state championship. How many ever state championships in Oklahoma? How many state championships have we been to? Great football team, small school football. Goes, sits down, breaks down the film, looks at every scoring play against his defense for the entire year. 70% were a misalignment pre-snap. If all your quarterback can do is recognize bad alignments and take advantage of them, he can be very successful at the high school level.
That's a good point. No, that was a great. I'm so glad we got him on. I think he was 5 of 8 or something.
I think he's 5 of 8. 5 and 8 up in my head. I think he'd just come off 2 back-to-back. I don't know how he did.
Craziness. Yeah, so pre-snap reads, there's a lot that can go on, but we also understand that defensives can be pretty static, or they can be the opposite, right? They can be ones that are moving all over the place. If you're playing anybody in Oklahoma that plays the eat the captain defense, where you just really don't know what's going on. Post-snap reads. So, Joe, will let you start here since you had to wait so long on pre-snap. So what?
Oh, no, I'm good. Let Ron start with his. He's got a whole dissertation on air raid reads here.
Let's get it. I'm all about progressions. All right, Ron, you're in. You're in for progressions.
Okay, so I break it down. To me, pre-snap or quick game is different than post-snap. Yes. To me, our quick game is kind of like what Joe's saying with the curl flat. It is just you're reading one guy. We have quick throws built in pre-snap that if you see that space, you can catch turn. I'm talking things like stick and corner, and if you run space, whatever. But how we've done it is we've always kept the backside the same on whatever it is, so that follows with every quick game. So the quarterback knows, hey, every quick game we have the same 2 route combinations on the backside. So if I see that, I'm gonna take it. Drop back game, that is where it's changed, where it's a 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And the reason, I'm gonna be completely honest, guys, I have played teams where they come out, we and y'all, I'm sure y'all have done this too. They've had this personality 7 games before they play us, and then when they get to us, it's a whole new defense on game night. And I'm not smart enough to know exactly. I'm not a savant. I don't know, okay, in this play, when it's this drive, at this down and distance, on this hash, this defensive coordinator does this, so I know I'm going to call it. I'm not smart enough to do that. So I like the progression reads because we can practice those every single day and then just drill them. And we don't have a handful of plays. So it's like, hey, on Y cross, it's vert, out, crosser, curl flat on the backside. That, and we can rep the piss out of that. Sorry, there's my one cuss word, if you consider that PP a cuss word. There we go. And it's PG also. That would have given me a PG-13 rating probably by the Hollywood board or whatever. I'm rambling.
We'll be all right.
But what I like about progressions is, like Joe, like you said, if you go through the progressions right, and I'm a disciple of Mike Leach, someone will be open. Now it's on how you structure practice, how you do film wise, how you actually talk to the quarterback and see that he understands it. But it's your job as a coach to get that quarterback to go through his progressions and do it. And I do it really simple. When we start off, when I'm introducing the concept, I'll draw on the whiteboard, I'll draw circles where theoretically people should be open in time. And then I tell my quarterback, that's what you're looking at when you're dropping back. Not the defender or anything, because I don't know, that's just my way of coaching. You're looking at that area. And is there a different color jersey in that area? If it is, screw it. Go to the next one. I don't care where we're running a vert and the corner is on top. You can back shoulder it. That's when you get in the PhD level within the concept. But at first, I'm like, hey, if he's running a vert and there's color in that area where he's going, buddy, you better not throw that thing. You better just go to the next one. And that's where pre-snap comes in. Like if I know he's running a vert and that corner's 10 yards off, I'm not going there. Like I'll keep my eyes there, but I know that I'm not going there. When I hit that last step in the drop, I'm going to the out because I've already eliminated pre-snap the first progression. And that's how I kind of marry the two together. And then, like you said, Joe, I like the option. Like instead of 2 or 3, I now have 5. And numbers say that if I space it out right and everything, you can't defend the entire field. So hopefully my guy knows it better than you.
In Y cross, is the curl always open?
Yes. And sometimes if I see that, like if I know that the curl flat on the backside is going to be open on this play, I'll go ahead and tag it with like a back. saying, and when I've done that, when I tag back, I tell them, hey, you're going 1 and 2, unless they're so wide open you can fart it out your butt for a touchdown. You're not throwing those. You're just looking over there to influence the defense to come over there, and then you're going 3, 4, and 5. So 1 and 2 is already out, and that's where the coach comes into play. If you see that, I believe you should have something in your system that tells your quarterback, hey, forget these, go to these, because that's what I'm thinking.
Awesome. Sergio.
Yeah, so I mean, we're mirrored route concepts, but we can tag them to create whatever we want. We have 5 drop back concepts, and you're right. When we talk about quick game, all that we do post snap is confirm whatever we thought was going to be there is there. So, quick game, 7-yard off corner, we're throwing the hitch, right? But you got to confirm that the corner didn't just sit because he's backpedaled 26 times. We kind of know what he's doing. If he just sits there flat-footed, we probably don't want to throw that. I talk about like we don't go read the scene. We just chuck it over his head and move on with life. It's a quick game. But and that doesn't happen very much, quite honestly. But what we're doing with our mirrored concepts, and again, we can tag, we can create every route concept that you have, and we can talk about how we read it because we have 3 reads. No matter what we're doing, we have 3 reads, and that is horizontal stretch, inside breaking route, and this is all based off of what the number 1 receiver is doing. Horizontal stretch, inside breaking route, horizontal stretch, outside breaking route, and vertical stretch. No matter what we're doing, there's 3 reads. When you look at the way that our route concepts work, and this is all Coach Mountjoy, his teaching and everything, which is just incredible. But the more we learn about it, I mean, it's taken years to learn everything. And when you look at what we're doing in a 5-step route concept and a drop back pass concept, every throw is the same because we changed the split. So the number 1, if we're throwing to the number 1 receiver being the thing, there aren't many throws for the quarterback to make. So we're trying to simplify all of this, right? It's we got 3 read. No matter, we got 5 concepts, we can tag the hell out of it. All tag route concepts are the other read, which is object receiver. Object receiver means, so example, if I tag a wheel, so I'm now running a curl wheel. I tagged that wheel because the corner is now driving down on the curl route over and over again. So I'm going to tag the wheel, throw the freaking wheel.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm stupid and I don't do that until it's 3rd and 25, ignore me and read it because the wheel's probably now closed. But in general, those tags are usually object receivers, meaning this is what we expect to see, confirm it, but it's a predictive play call when we tag it. That's an object receiver. Our quick game is mostly pre-snap. We can pre-snap most of our drop back, but our drop back is based on a post snap read. And so the way that our post snap reads are, just take a curl flat, a horizontal stretch concept. When you run a horizontal stretch concept, we have 6 zones across. If we put 3 to a side, somebody should be open. Now, if somebody ran a straight up cover 2, we would probably, that's the potential where they could cover our 5 with 5 underneath defenders. So that's where, somebody's still open. We should get the curl open usually, but, or the hook. But that's where we don't have the 5 receiver progression. We're going to have something else that's a little bit better against cover 2. Generally, if we've never seen you run a cover 2 and you just come out and run a cover 2, we'll be all right because you just installed that crap on Tuesday, so we got you. But same kind of thing. We've got 5 receivers, so there's 5 receivers that could get the football. Now we run a 7-man protection, so there's 2 check releases. So if you blitz us, we're going to pick everything up, and we're going to be in a cover 0 type of look. Are the 3 guys are man to man, right? So we have checks there, but essentially what we have in there is we have a call side and a backside, same type of thing. number wise, now our quarterbacks obviously can look at numbers, leverage, spacing, all of those things and say, all right, I know that the right is the call side, but there's, same kind of thing. Throw the backside, right? Look over here. We do a lot of that. But in a general, all things equal, we're going to have a trigger. And all the trigger is going to do is after the ball is, if pre-snap, we decide like, hey, we're going call side. Ball is snapped. I key either the backside safety or the middle of the field safety or the backside line. So it's usually either the will linebacker, but I don't care who your linebacker is. For us, it's the backside linebacker. We just call him the will. So we're on anything that's an intermediate route, an underneath route, under 12 yards, we're keying the backside linebacker for our trigger. Anything that's over 12 yards, we're keying the backside safety. So curl flat, we're keying the backside linebacker. Whatever, post out, we're keying the backside safety. Smash, we're keying the backside safety. That does two things. Number one, it will confirm for him to stay call side or tell him to go backside, which is about 10% of the time. It also gets him on the snap looking the opposite way. Just getting his eyes going the other way. So two different benefits from it. I don't even care if they actually really read the trigger, as long as they will look at the trigger when when they get the football, when they go into their drop, then at least he's not just staring down his receivers, right? So take a curl flat against cover 3. Assuming that we can see pre-snap, okay, it looks like cover 3. The only thing that would get you is if there was rotation. If the backside linebacker rotated over, we would know, okay, I have a corner high and I now have a numbers advantage to the backside. Assuming that the backside stays, we have 2/2 on the backside with the will linebacker and the flat player, weak safety, whatever it is, outside linebacker. We have 2/3 strong side with the Sam linebacker and the strong safety in a cover 3. And so we have 3 guys releasing out. We have the back releasing into a hook. We have the curl route in the curl. We have the flat route. So using those reads, just like Ron's talking about, we should always have somebody open. And if we don't take a risk. We'll come back. We'll tag it. We'll run something different. You just eat it. But that they should always have somebody open. And of course, we have our beaters and all that sort of stuff. Tagging backside and whatever else. Pre-snap, definitely having pre-snap communication. But that's how our trigger reads work. And then when he actually goes to quote unquote, once he confirms, backside linebacker stays on a curl concept, 56, 57 in our pistol power offense. He confirms backside linebacker stays. So now his eyes go front side and he's reading inside out. He reads hook. Now here's the truth of the matter. It's very hard to get the back there and get the linebacker gone. You have to have a defense that is triggering so fast off of hi-hat reads that you can actually have the linebacker totally cleared to the curl, essentially, that you'll throw that throw the hook to the back, and then the hook is just sitting over top of. He basically runs to replace the linebacker's feet. We hardly ever throw it. We know the games where it's going to get thrown. Most of the time, the linebackers are not getting out of there fast enough, which is fine because now it goes to curl. So inside breaking route, the curl is an inside breaking route. So we read the inside hook zone, and all we're doing is looking at the zone. Okay, I go to the hook zone. Is it cleared? No. I go to the curl zone, so I look at the curl route. If that strong safety has flown to the flat, the curl is open, but I'm looking grass, right? No bad guys there. Throw the ball to the curl route. You know where it is. It's the exact same spot as a deep out. It's the exact same spot as you throw a post. It's the exact same spot as you throw a little bit less than you throw a hitch. But those 3 routes are all the same. And if that's clouded, then I go to the flat and I throw the flat. And the flat, should be, if the curl is clouded, then the flat should be there. So that's how our concept comes together. Is I have a trigger that keeps me front side or tells me to go backside if the count is in my favor backside. And then I go through, is there grass here? Is there grass here? Is there grass here?
So what? Both kind of talked about either check down routes or like if I get this, then this. At what point do you go down to like your emergency check down route? Like I guess not your hot route with a blitz because that'd be a blitz, but they take away everything you want in your first 3 reads or whatever. Where do you go then? Is it just throw it away and live to call another play, or is there? I mean, Ron, you said there's always someone open. So, but Joe's pretty much put it in my head. If it ain't out in 3 seconds, you're dead, man. So how do you get through 5 and 3?
Well, I am pretty much all of the air raid passing concepts. I've built in the back because y'all know this at the high school level. They forget about the back like 70% of the time. So I taught our quarterbacks, hey, if you feel any kind of pressure or you get scared or you're confused, just find the back because the back's usually in the flat. I sometimes will have them in for pass protection, but really it's just a check release. Hey, you've got this linebacker on your side. That's how we set up. We half slide and everything. And is that guy coming? Yes. Well, then you have to block him. If not, get out there. And then we also tell the running back, if no one's near you in 10 yards, you better be screaming ball, ball, ball. And we've actually done drills once a week where we'll go through and then I'll pull the running back routes on air. I'll pull the running back and I'll just be like, hey, yell ball, ball, ball. And usually it's the third guy if he sees it or if he hears it, that's the guy. He's got to, how we do our routes on air. Third guy or the guy in the middle. If we got 5, 2 to the left, 1 in the middle, 2 to the right. I think my math works out that way. That if he hears ball, 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 then he's got to stop and just find it because we're trying to drill in. Anytime you need a safety blanket, the running back's the guy. Don't force it or anything. And then also when I say throw it away, I've tried that in my earlier career as an OC. Hey, just throw the ball away. I was an idiot. That's not a high school rule. That's so we would get intentional grounding and everything. So then I'm like, oh, that's on me, guys. Just throw it to the running back. And if you're a scrambler, best ones, hey, if you feel pressure and you got a lane, man, you got the green light, buddy. You can go ahead and go.
I mean, that's the biggest thing is like put all things equal. If I got a kid that can throw the ball pretty well, but he's not mobile, and I got a kid that can throw the ball pretty well and he is mobile, even if it's a little less, like,
yeah,
that's going to bail me out a lot more. But it's funny because you say your running back's always in the flat and he's the guy that you kind of, look for. Our running back's almost always in the hook. And that's the guy that we look for too, but it's the same deal. Like that's the guy that, so what we teach ours is you run your hook, boom, so a hook is a 5-yard, it's replaced the feet of the linebacker, right? Run at the linebacker. He drops out. You turn around where he was. Okay. And show your hands. Nobody's going to throw you the ball, but don't worry about it. You don't need to know that. He does have one route, by the way, and he only gets it in 7-on-7. And smash, he goes straight down the middle of the field. And if they play cover 2 against smash and play it perfectly, then he should be open middle of the field or quarters, actually, because in a quarter system, the Mike linebacker has to run with him. And I got to tell you, there aren't many linebackers that can run with a decent running back. If you have most Mike linebackers that can run with a decent running back, we're just going to keep running up the middle. They're very, unless you get a huge stud. So he has that, and 7-on-7, he gets to catch the ball. But where they get most of their catches is on when things break down. And what we teach them is from that hook, drop back pass, hook. All right, he scrambles out to the right, run and get in front of him. Yeah. And same thing, get in front of him and be big, be visible. Every scramble rules, short routes go deep routes go short, backside routes, get in front of him. Yep. And so he's the one that more often than not, every once in a while you'll have like a flat route and the quarterback scrambles out and the guy who's supposed to be with the flat route sees the quarterback scramble and leaves it and you get to dump it over his head. Every once in a while that happens, and every once in a while you have things really break down and you get somebody open 90 yards down the field. If you got a quarterback can get it there on the run, like that's amazing. And we all are like, what a call. I'm such a good football coach. And we celebrate it like we knew what we were doing. But yeah, the one that usually gets it when it all breaks down is the running back. Now I'll say that was my quarterback that didn't run. He could run, but he didn't run very much. He was always looking to throw the ball. Most of my other quarterbacks have been more, is it there? Is it there? All right, I'm out. And by the way, that's much better than is it there? Is it there? No, it's not. Let me keep looking to see if something else happened, because he's getting sacked. And a lot of our guys early on are like trying to force throw the ball down the field. And it's like, again, like you said, Daniel, you got 2.7. Okay. You got 2.7. If the ball's not out, you're sacked. And that's on you. Now, I also make my offensive lineman protect for 7 seconds. So hopefully we've got 4.3 seconds of squish time there. But
Look at
somewhere
you,
in there,
Rain Man.
Yeah, I know. This is all Bill Mountjoy. It's not me. Bill Mountjoy is the Rain Man. But this is the timing of the routes and the route concepts and the breaks and everything, how they tie up. But it is dependent on the quarterback, because if I have a kid who's a runner, has a athletic ability to run, has a runner's mentality, and when he pulls that ball down, he is a threat. How many times, defensively, how many times are we like, look, when you go on your pass rush, if you don't have a clear shot at him, just stand there. We prefer him. The number of times defensively that I've been like, let him throw the ball. Don't flush him out of the pocket. God forbid he runs. I'd rather, if he throws it, it's a 50-50 shot. If he runs it, it's not in our favor. So if I've got that quarterback, I'm like, we're not worried about throw the ball away, make good decisions. Is it there? Is it there? Boom, you're an athlete. Figure it out. A gap escape, D gap escape, whatever it is.
One last question, and I think we'll probably have to start closing out just for time here. But I've heard a lot of people talk about giving a quarterback a gap to read, right? So now not only are they responsible for reading progression or that player that you're going to high-low or whatever that thing is, and now they're having to watch a gap because if a blitzer comes through it, we don't have enough blockers in here to handle that for you. Which just brings the question, like, how do you coach that quarterback? Eyes are deep, and you're trying to fill this pocket. Like, what are your coaching points to keep them in their progression and they're not taking a sack because an O-lineman missed something ridiculous? Joe, we'll go with you here.
I don't do that. We have 7-man protection.
Ron, go with you here.
I think it comes down to two things. One, your play calling during the game. I like to call screens, slow or fast, and quick game early on just to get him in feeling comfortable, because he's got jitters and everything. So that's really quick. Just get the ball out, get him in a rhythm, everything like that. And as the game progresses and as the defense gets tired, I find that that's best to hit up the dropbacks, the shallows, the Y cross, the Y sails, the forvert, stuff like that as the game goes on, because they're tired. The second thing is pass protection, and how we set it up is we always slide away from the first read for the quarterback, so that if someone is coming in his face, he can pause. That was a weird stab. It's like that. But he knows,
Thank you.
He knows where he's going. Okay, so we have bail-in type routes on that front side, and we also have a bail-out on the back side as well. So if he does the line sliding this way, I'm maybe responsible for the linebacker if he looks like he's blitzing, and then that goes into pre-snap. Does that guy looking? He's not. Most of the teams that we've played don't have NFL guys that can be 5-6 yards back as a linebacker, and then when the ball is snapped, he's in the backfield. Usually at the high school level, when a linebacker gets called for a blitz, they're raring to go, and they will tell you. So that's kind of if you got to know your pre-snap reads. But that's the way. Like, for instance, if we're running stick to that side and you see that linebacker's already coming and you know that your backside's covered, well, if that guy's blitzing, I need to get it off fast, and I need to either go to the back or to the stick route. And the same concept with the drop backs. If I'm running 2x2 shallow cross and it's coming from my left to my right, well, I've got the left side sliding that way. So my backside should be good. If anything's coming front side and I see people running at me, then I know I either got to get the ball to the drag because they're blitzing or they're coming and there's space there now, we're replacing, or if I don't like that, find that back right away. And I found that a lot of the quarterbacks, if they get a little antsy, they really don't understand the pass protection. They don't know who is picking up who's not picked up, who am I kind of responsible for. A lot of coaches I've talked to, they get all in depth with the routes. Like, hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. If the safeties do this, if the corner does that, this is what you do. But they never really talk about the pass protection. Like, hey, these 3 guys got these gaps. They're man up on this side. We may have a running back in, but if not, then that guy that's on your right, where your progression starts, if he comes, then you got to do this. And that is a lot, Joe. Like you said, these are high school kids. So that is why we gel so well, because it's like you've got a handful of plays, but master those and know that in every instance, these plays, again, theoretically, have an answer for whatever the defense does. So we're just going to get great at these handful of plays, and hopefully that works.
Awesome.
Yep. Our quarterback's only he has a handful of rules, which he kind of learns over time, because there's one that's really important, which is check the protection away from a shaded nose, because it's a really hard block for a guard to make on a man protection side. But outside of that, and then we kind of go to, all right, you got to roll down safety. You want to check it the opposite way, because the slide protection is better. We're trying to his checks are to maximize guys who can get into a route right now. So it is a 7-man protection, but it's with 2 check releases. And if he understands the protection, like you said, he should be able to check it the right way to make sure that he gets 4 or 5 guys out. What we don't want is a running back staying in, or God forbid an H or a Y staying in to block somebody on one side while our backside guard is looking for something to do. Right. So that's a breakdown in the quarterback not understanding and checking the protections. We try to avoid that. So we have our own complexity for sure. Just it's differently placed. It's not like one's better than the other, I don't think.
Yeah, got you. Awesome. Well, I think we've checked all the boxes tonight on quarterback reads, to include when to throw, not to throw, and when to run. And
Varsity Blues isn't realistic. You can't just chuck the ball at the mascot's face.
You shut your mouth, man. That is the most realistic high school football movie.
Exactly. Only the club scene.
Fucking ladder, baby.
Only the club scene. That's
what real. Is it? How does a whole staff of high school football coaches get out coached by a backup quarterback?
Because he 5 wide. And
5 wide, baby. We're going 5 wide.
I don't know if y'all know this, but Mike Leach got 5 wide from that movie. He watched it. He was like, that is amazing. I'm going to incorporate that. Thank you, MTV, for producing this and putting this out there.
Such a great MTV was such a realistic based movies.
It was like I was back in high school. Every time I pop it in, I'm like, dang, this is legit. I couldn't tell you how many people I've seen, both male and female, walk out in parties in full whipped cream attire.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. You're looking at dudes in whipped cream. Right?
I mean, it's not like I wanted to. It's just like, hey, everybody, and it's like a train wreck.
We were watching something the other day. It was an older show. I think it was definitely an older show. We were watching, and I'm with my wife, and I was like, "Who is that? I recognize that person." And my wife goes, "That's Allie Larder," and I was like, "Now I know I didn't recognize her. Not enough whipped cream."
Imagine the shower after that. That's just nasty.
Yeah, sticky.
Yeah. Ugh. I wonder if that was off-brand whipped cream or like Cool Whip, like the original.
Cherries.
I don't think it would be off-brand, because that house was too nice. Like, they've got all store-brand stuff in that house. Don't get me started. I can talk about that.
All right. Yeah, I got to go. So
pay the bills, getting out of here. Join.joneofootball.com. Get access for $1. That's a 7-day trial. Jump in that platinum package. Get that game film analysis. It's that time now. 7-on-7's coming. It's time to really start thinking about some football. You got spring football. You can send in your spring football film. Let Joe and the guys to let you know what you're doing wrong, where you need to make some changes before the real season gets here. That way you're off. You don't need the non-district 3 games to get better. You're already better. Although, I mean, you can still get better. Pistol Power offense, 4-3, 4-2-5, 3-3, and 3-4. All the systems you can get there. Chalkboard Forum and Chalk Talks, weekly, bi-weekly. They're all over the place. Starting back weekly when we get into season, though, which is where it's at. You get a Q&A. You get some Joe coming in and telling you some good masterclass type stuff. So jump in on the system, get in their day. Once again, join.joeandfootball.com. Access for $1 for 7 days. Joe, what cells are opening and closing?
We got
End of March.
End of March, so we're going to be in the middle of. Well, actually, this is going to be. You got 1 day left to get in the game film masterclass. So if you don't know how to break down game film, get the most out of it, and do it in a way that saves you hours of time on the weekends, gives you a specific start and end point, then you're going to want to get the game film masterclass. That way you can sleep during the week and not think about, oh man, I need to pop that film in because I missed something. It's done. It's over. And you found everything you needed to find. You're ready. You had it in on Monday. So you're ready. So you need that game film masterclass. Just go to, we'll check your emails, but I think it's joeandandrewfootball.com/GFMC to get that.
There you go. Social media, Ron, where can we find you? Somebody want to reach out and talk some football or marketing or?
YouTube, Coach Mckie, MCKIE, or find me on TikTok for the next 5 months before it gets banned.
Yep.
On its way out.
I just got the 250 followers. Done.
Nice.
Thanos.
Yep.
I don't exist.
Sucks. I am at Coach Chambo OK on Twitter and X. ChamberlainFootballConsulting@gmail.com is my email. Email me literally about anything from leadership to writing articles to whatever, football, making a nice resume. I got you. Hit me up. Joe, where can we find you at, sir?
Find me on Twitter at Football Info. You can find me on Instagram at Joe Daniel Football, Facebook.com/Joe Daniel Football. And for the time being on TikTok at Joe Daniel Football.
There you go. If it's your first time listening to the Football Coaching Podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on your favorite podcatcher. Spotify, Apple Podcasts are going to be the biggest two. Please, if you're there, leave us a review. Especially if you've been listening for a while. That just helps us reach other coaches that might need some help, might just need something entertaining to listen to, might need that level up section to figure out what book they need to read. Let us help other coaches by you helping us. Ron Mckie, thank you so much, man.
Thank y'all for having me.
Everything.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, absolutely love it. Love when you're on the show and appreciate you come back talking ball every once in a while.
Hey, anytime y'all want to ask me on, man, I appreciate it. And I was on time today. So, that's
you were on time today. You were at 24 hours early.
I was.
It happened. I'll just be picking your brain for some air raid stuff in the next year or two.
That's fine.
Just
open book.
Good deal. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Coaching Podcast. Remember, coach simple, play fast, win.